All right, let's jump back a century to the Roaring '20s. And look, it wasn't just floppers and jazz. It was the decade that literally invented modern America. We're going to dig into two huge forces that shaped everything: a brand new culture of buying things and an equally powerful need to escape it all.
And this quote, wow, it absolutely nails it. It's from a marketing expert named Christine Frederick, writing right at the end of the decade. She saw that this new American civilization wasn't being built out of steel or new laws, but out of the simple act of shopping. A revolution was happening, not on some battlefield, but in department stores.
So yeah, what was this change in the air? I mean, what kind of forces are we talking about here? They were powerful enough to completely reshape how an entire country shopped, lived, and even what it dreamed about.
Well, the whole story kicks off in a place you might not expect. It doesn't start with happy shoppers or clever advertisers. Nope, it starts in factories, which, funnily enough, had become a little too good at their jobs, creating a massive problem that was threatening the whole economy.
The problem had a name: overproduction. Thanks to new tech like the assembly line, factories were just churning out an insane amount of stuff: clothes, appliances, food, way more than people actually needed or were used to buying. This mountain of goods was basically a ticking time bomb.
So, business leaders had this huge realization. This wasn't a manufacturing problem they could solve with a new machine. It was a people problem. They had to totally rewire the American mindset. They had to stop selling things and start selling the very idea of wanting things.
So what was their game plan? Well, it was this brilliant three-part strategy. First, make stores so amazing people would just want to hang out in them. Second, use new magazines to make everyone in the country want the same stuff. And third, the real kicker: introduce a financial tool that lets people have it all right now. So, let's talk about the department store. You had pioneers like Marshall Field in Chicago who were just on another level. They weren't just building stores. These places were like palaces of consumption. They had restaurants, crazy window displays, fashion shows. Suddenly, shopping wasn't a chore. It was entertainment.
Then came credit, and this was the real game changer. The car industry especially went all in on this. By 1927, 60% of all cars were being sold on an installment plan. Just like that, buy now, pay later becomes, well, normal. And for the first time, personal debt becomes a huge part of American life.
And the effect of all this easy credit, it was just staggering. With installment plans for pretty much anything, spending on all those shiny new gadgets for the home, refrigerators, washing machines, it just skyrocketed. We're talking a 120% jump in just 10 years. A whole new American lifestyle was literally being bought on credit.
And just to give you a sense of the scale of this change, it's absolutely insane. The number of cars on the road tripled during the decade. But get this, by the late 20s, a full 80% of all the cars on planet Earth were driving on American roads. Just let that sink in. Okay, but this is a two-sided coin, because the same fast-paced industrial world that was creating all this amazing stuff was also creating a ton of new anxieties. All that pressure built up a deep, powerful need in people to just escape. You know, the author of the Tarzan books, Edgar Burroughs, he just summed it up perfectly. People felt kind of trapped by the rules and routines of modern life. They were longing for a release, a little bit of wildness and adventure, even if it was just in their heads. They all kind of wanted to be Tarzan.
And the automobile, well, that was the most literal escape pod you could buy. It totally blew up old social norms. Think about dating. It used to happen on the family sofa, you know, with mom and dad right there. All of a sudden, it moves to the private world of the back seat. That's a revolution right there.
But it wasn't just cars, oh no. The 1920s unleashed this huge wave of new kinds of entertainment. You had all these new doorways to get out of your own head for a while. The glamour of Hollywood movies, the magic of a radio broadcast coming right into your living room, the wild energy of jazz, and the roar of a giant crowd at a baseball game.
And if you want a perfect example of this hunger for escape, just look at what happened when sound came to the movies. Check out Warner Brothers. In 1925, they're a $5 million company. Then, in 1927, the Jazz Singer hits, the first talkie. Fast forward just 5 years, and they're worth $230 million. That's not just growth, that's an explosion. It just shows you how much people wanted this stuff.
So you've got to realize, for the first time in history, millions of people from California to Maine are all watching the same movies, listening to the same radio shows, and cheering for the same heroes. This created something brand new,
A unified national popular culture. And out of that culture, a new kind of person was born, the modern celebrity.
In the movie world, you had stars like Mary Pickford. They called her America's sweetheart, and by 1920, she was making $1 million a year, which is just unbelievable for that time. And she was more than an actress. She was a trendsetter who helped create and popularize the flapper, the iconic image of the entire decade. Then you hop over to sports, and there was simply no one bigger than Babe Ruth. This guy was larger than life. He wasn't just a baseball player, he was a national hero on an epic scale. To put his power in perspective, in 1920, he hit 54 home runs. That's not just the most for a player, that was more than any other entire team in the league hit all season. But if you had to pick the single hero of the 1920s, it might just be Charles Lindbergh. His solo flight across the Atlantic in 1927 just completely captured the world's imagination. In this new age of giant corporations and faceless factories, Lindbergh's journey was this powerful symbol. It was proof that one person with enough courage and the right tech could still do the impossible. And that kind of brings us full circle, right back to today. The Roaring Twenties basically wrote the playbook for modern life. Deal with the pressures of the world by buying new things and losing yourself in entertainment. So now, 100 years later, with smartphones in our hands and endless streaming at our fingertips, you really have to ask, has that playbook changed at all?